Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to introduce to you now. John LaSpina is a 58-year-old retired middle school teacher of 34 years. John taught language arts, social studies, civics, and video production. John is a perpetual student, and most of his nutrition education comes from experts in the field of low carbohydrate nutrition, including Dr. Robert Cywes, Dr. Kim Berry, Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Sten Ekberg, Thomas Delauer, Elliot, Overton, and Kim Howerton, among others. All amazing names. Those are all amazing people. He became fat adapted about 4 years ago when he started eating ketogenic. Currently, he identifies as a carnivore and claims to have never felt more alive or more healthy. His YouTube videos serve the purpose of informing and educating viewers about the proper way of eating real, whole foods and the potential benefits that can be experienced through his approach. John encourages viewers to leave comments and questions, assuring them that he will respond to everybody. John created those YouTube videos for free, offering them to anyone who wants to learn, as he believes knowledge is power. His ultimate goal is to help individuals become the optimized versions of themselves by learning to eat well in order to look and feel well. You can find John on YouTube and other social platforms by searching Carnivore Teacher. John LaSpina, what an absolute honor it is to welcome you to Boundless Body Radio.
Thank you, Casey. I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
It's such an honor to host you. Before we got on the call, I had to confirm your age because I had it recorded that you were 57. You're actually 58, so I was able to correct that. And you look like you're about 20 to 30 years younger than that. So congratulations.
I am 58. I feel 28. That's my line that I tell everybody, and it's true.
Isn't it awesome?
Do. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, and I can't keep my mouth shut. That's why I make my YouTube videos. I have to pay it forward, you know?
Yeah. Good for you. And like I told you offline as well, you're doing amazing work out there in space and sharing a lot of really helpful content for people. So I really do appreciate that. The day that this episode is set to launch will be my last day in my 30s. The very next day, January the 13th, I will be turning 40. And I feel the same. I didn't feel this good when I was 30 years old. It's incredible what this way of living can do to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't look anywhere near 40.
Well, thanks, man. We've got a few weeks still. We've got a few weeks.
All right. Good.
Well, and this is going to be great timing as well, because as you and I know, January is World Carnivore Month, and hopefully there's a lot of people that are getting excited about that. It's becoming more and more popular. Like, we're living in a world now where the word carnivore has been Googled more times than the word vegan, which is awesome that people are finding this way of eating and wanting to try it. And with your background in education, I just think you'd be the perfect guest to come on and not only share your story, but help others along the way with some of the things that people get tripped up with, especially in the beginning. We know that this is a very awkward thing to do, and there's not a ton of information out there, although, like I said, it is increasing. But man, if you're turning to a carnivore diet, generally speaking, you have probably suffered through something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a lot of people that do carnivore just for the hell of it, like to just eat meat. It's for a really good reason. And it sounds like with you in your life, that was the case as well.
Absolutely. It was. I can explain how I went carnivore. I started, like most people, overweight, as I was in my 40s. You won't find this because you're a carnivore, but when you're eating the standard American diet and fast food, laced with carbs, sugar, seed oils, high fructose corn syrup, it's in so many things that are out there, and people don't think, and it's been there all their lives. And our bodies are forgiving, and we have the bandwidth to deal with it. Many of us, I think some of us get problems earlier on, but many of us can make it through our 20s and into our 30s, and it doesn't show on the body so much because our body repairs while it's breaking down and getting damaged by all these processed elements. But when you hit the 40s, maybe the late 30s and the 50s, and I'm getting very close to the 60s, we don't have that bandwidth. Our reparative abilities are a little bit slower. And that's when people put on the weight. And of course, like many people, I went on many diets, and all the diets worked until they didn't work. And I put the weight back on, and even more. That's always the case. So I heard about this thing called keto 5 years ago, didn't really know anything about it. I tried the Atkins diet maybe 10 years ago. I didn't know what I was doing. I ate lunch meat and cheese, and it didn't work for me. And we didn't have the internet. Maybe it was more than 10 years ago, because I don't think we had the internet. But so 5 years ago, I did keto, and I started counting and weighing and measuring and learning the macronutrients of carbohydrates, fat, and protein. And I didn't know that before. I thought it was all about Calories in, calories out is what so many people believe. That's the first thing you see on all the boxes and packages. That's the largest. It's what they print on a lot of menus. When you go to restaurants, they care about the calories. So I self-taught myself. I had an app on my phone and I put everything in there, and I looked at my little pie chart at the end of the day, said, I'm going to adjust this. And as the weeks turned into a month and the month turned into a few months of very low carbohydrates, less than 20 total grams a day, my 35 pounds that I needed to lose weight fell off within just a few months. I thought, oh my gosh, there's something to this. So I watched YouTube videos, and I'll list some of those doctors again that you mentioned in my bio, but I added a few. So Dr. Ken Berry's at the top of my list. The man is my hero. He's a wealth of knowledge. Dr. Robert Cywes, Anthony Chafee is second on my list. All right. Love the guy. I watch I can't keep up. He puts so many videos out. I can't keep up with him. Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Sten Ekberg, Dr. Sean Baker, he interviewed me, and he's an amazing guy. Dr. Jason Fung, Peter Attia, Robert Lufkin, Monique Attinger for oxalates. She taught me a lot and we had a few interviews together. And this young lady named Kim Howerton, Thomas Delauer. I could go on and on, but those are the ones that are my education now. And they are my favorites on my YouTube channel. So I take a sunrise bicycle ride every morning. It's not raining. I live in Boca Raton, Florida, so it's pretty much warm every day out of the year if it's not raining. I went this morning. I love to set my circadian rhythm. I just wake up before the sun comes up usually. And I don't drink coffee anymore. I quit coffee. I'm out on the bicycle with my earbuds in, not these, but my AirPods. And I get my phone here, I attach it to my bike, and I catch up on my videos. And as I'm riding and inhaling the fresh air and looking at nature and everybody else going to work, and I don't have to because I'm retired. That's another happy thought. I'm learning and growing and having these aha moments. I get a high, I get a rush, almost like a drug. I get a rush when one of these amazing doctors or nutritionists say something and I didn't know it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. I pause the video. I go to my microphone. I say something and I use that for one of my next videos. And that's how I make my videos, to share with people. I have these aha moments that excite me. And then I apply them to my life and make positive changes. And if they were positive, I'm like, that was just added to my repertoire of good health. And I add on to that. And over 5 years now, I've added on. I know so much more than I ever knew about my body and my body's signals and nutrition than I ever did, thanks to these people that I just mentioned. And I've bought a few books too. I go into Barnes and Noble and I could spend hours in there, and I write down the names of authors that these people recommend or them. And I love reading. I get aha moments from that too. So that is I guess my excitement is I do love to learn. And it's why I became a teacher back in 1988 when I started. And now that I'm retired, I can't stop teaching. And I'm not teaching a curriculum I'm required to teach like I was. I'm doing something that is a passion that comes from my heart, and I don't sell anything. I don't have any products. I want people to know I don't have any ulterior motives. I do know that some people, when they watch somebody, they see that they're selling their supplements or their powders or their whatever, and they question their motives. I don't question their motives because I know they have to make a living, and I love their message, and I have the gut instinct to figure out what's BS and what's not. But I just want my viewers to know that I'm doing this for free. I'm a video production teacher, so I have all the equipment. I have the green screen and everything, the microphones and the light. And so I'm doing this out of fun, out of the passion, and because I really want to pay it forward. These people paid it forward to me and my health. And I'll go on to a list here of all the amazing things. It's not just weight loss. So many amazing benefits have occurred since I cleaned up my way of eating. And that's what I want to get into here as well with you, is because most people think it's just about losing fat. And that's really just this little piece of it until you realize the amazing benefits. So I do want to share that with you too and your viewers.
Do you think you could try to be excited for this conversation? Just a little bit excited. That would be, dude, it's amazing. It's so easy to get so excited about this stuff because it is completely life-changing. I do want to talk about all the things that improved in your life. I want to also go back to your teaching career. We mentioned several things that you taught in school and to teach middle school. First of all, you deserve a medal or a trophy or something, man. I was terrible in middle school, so I can only imagine what you've had to deal with. But you've had to learn a lot of different things. If I were to go back to your teaching career and ask you, hey, do you know anything about nutrition? At the time, would you have said yes? Did you? You mentioned calories, but did you feel like you had a fairly good grasp on what was healthy and what wasn't back then?
Before all my knowledge, you mean?
Before,
I did not.
yes.
I thought it was, well, I thought it was first calories in, calories out.
Yep.
All right. There is a little validity to that, but not to the extreme that everybody's talking about. And I did know that, well, of course, I believed for the longest time that fat was the enemy because we were barraged with messages from doctors, from commercials, from television, everywhere. High fat was bad, and we didn't distinguish between the fats. And later on, I would say maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I realized carbohydrates were bad, maybe because of Atkins, the Atkins era. And I was trying to eat low carb, thinking I was eating the good carbs. So I would have honey and maple syrup instead of other sweeteners, which really molecularly are identical, you know, with glucose and fructose. But that would be the extent of my education back then. I didn't really know. I knew you were supposed to exercise, which I always did. But as I said earlier, as I got into my 40s and 50s, even the exercise, just wasn't working. The weight was coming on. And then I had a lot of other physical issues that were starting to happen. And I believe it's because of the processed food and possibly a lot of the vegetables and plants, you know.
Yeah. I agree. You did such a great job explaining this. One of my favorite videos that you've done more recently was all about the dose makes the poison. And we're talking about things like oxalates and things that build up in foods. And it's like, is a little bit of spinach every now and again going to kill you? Probably not. But it is an accumulation type thing, which is why sometimes some of these things are so weird to talk about. It's not necessarily that one serving of something is going to have that much effect. You're going to be able to deal with it. But it's when it's like chronic and over the course of so many different years and decades, that is when it becomes a problem. And that could be, not only the sugar and the seed oils like we mentioned, but also quote unquote healthy things, the superfoods that Monique Kattinger or Sally Norton talk about that can really build up and cause quite a bit of harm. What an amazing list of people to learn from, by the way. Have you been able to meet any of them in person?
I met Kim Howerton and Dr. Ken Berry, and I have little selfies with them. I met them at a Orlando low carb symposium or something. It was like 2 years ago. I'm going to low carb symposium in Boca Raton this January. I'm really excited, and the list of speakers there is absolutely amazing. I'm going to meet Ben Bickman and have him sign my book. I'm going to meet Dr. Robert Cywes, whom I've listened to for years, who's, I would say, one of my heroes. The guy is my education. I can't stop saying that. He's taught me so much about addiction. He's more on the addiction side. And, hopefully we can talk a little bit about that in the hour too, because that is why many people have problems stopping certain foods. It's not because of the foods themselves. It's because of, our unhealthy relationship with the carbohydrates and sugar that give us a relief, just like a drug gives us a relief,
Yeah, totally. That's why I have to be carnivore, and a lot of people have to be carnivore because we can't moderate. If I have a little, I have way too many. Yeah, it's such an amazing experience to get to meet some of these people. I'm sure it was just wonderful for you to finally meet Dr. Ken Berry, and having met him as well, I'm sure he chatted you up for as long as you liked it. He's just the kindest
gentleman. Yeah,
he's
big,
amazing.
tall gentleman.
He's pretty tall.
You see him in person, you're like, oh, you're really that tall? You didn't look that way.
Very tall. That's great. Okay, awesome. So yeah, so let's talk about your transition. First of all, was
Sure.
it difficult for you to transition from standard American over to a keto diet? I mean, we learn as we go. We kind of tend to build the plane as we're flying it, and so lots of times we trip up with things, and maybe we can talk about that as well. But was it a difficult transition? And that step from standard American to keto, where you lost 35 pounds, is amazing. Did you notice any other benefits up to that point?
Up to that point, mostly just the weight, but a little bit of mental acuity. Mostly the side effects when your body was adjusting, because my gut bacteria was used to the sugar. I think those little guys were really angry. I wasn't feeding them anymore. So, they were reacting. Not too much of the supposed keto flu, which is, because I learned about electrolytes, because when you first eliminate your carbs and sugar, normally a normal person eating the standard American diet is consuming well over 200 total grams of carbs a day. You're going down to 20 or 30 a day. Your body reacts, and because it's going through a withdrawal, and a lot of that, the water goes out, and with the water go the electrolytes, and so that's a lot of the keto flu symptoms. So I learned to supplement with potassium, magnesium, and sodium. I had no keto flu. The first, I just was just amazed at how within about 2 weeks, the desire for sugar left my taste buds. The urge, the cravings just disappeared. And that was worth $1 billion to me, because I'm a sugar junkie. I, just like the alcoholics will say, hello, I am John LaSpina, and I am a sugar addict. And I still am today, because I've done little tests where I try something sweet, which is like a monk fruit or a stevia or an allulose keto treat. And my brain lit up as if it was real sugar. And all I could think about mentally for the next day and the day after was getting at that again. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is an addiction. This sugar, even the taste of it, even though I didn't probably affect my glycemic index with monk fruit, I couldn't stop mentally. There was some kind of synapses that were connected over the years. I couldn't break that. So the only way to break is like you said, total abstention. 100% abstaining is effortless. It's easy. But if you go 99%, you 99.999%, and you have a tiny little taste of something, it's extremely difficult to stay sugar-free or sugar substitute-free. So getting back to your original question, let me share with you what I did. So when I first started, I threw out all carbs, sugars, mixes, sauces, condiments. I went through my cupboards and kitchen and refrigerator, and I threw everything out. I didn't know about the seed oils until maybe a month or two later. Okay, so I think I still was using sugar-free salad dressings that used soybean oil. And then, of course, I went shopping, went around the edges of the grocery store. I bought beef, I bought lamb, I bought pork, bacon, I bought chicken, I bought lots of fish, the little canned fish. I love salmon, eggs every single day, and I cooked in butter, but I didn't know about the other cooking oils yet. And that's how I started going. But I also had vegetables. Okay, I was doing just keto, so I thought I had to have vegetables, because it is pounded in our brains. You have to have so many servings of fruits and vegetables to get your vitamins and minerals. I still see it on TV, and I'm throwing my shoe at the TV. I get so angry. It's the misinformation. They sell the capsules. It's so prevalent out there. And so I thought I had to have my broccoli and my asparagus. And back then, I thought I had to have spinach, and I had chia seeds, and I had lots of cinnamon. I mean, you name a high oxalate spice or food, I combined them all because they were low in carbs. That's all I knew, right? That's all I knew. Yeah. So I lost the weight. A year or so went by. I was doing ketogenic, lots of vegetables, very little fruit, just a few berries, lots of nuts, peely nuts, almonds, a ton of almond flour. I was pecans, walnuts, everything they said that were low in carbs. And I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I can basically eat anything I want but sugar. And then I had this pain. I woke up with a killer pain in my lower back about a year later. And I went to the emergency room. It was so excruciating. It was like delivering a baby. And they put
Oh
me
my
through
goodness.
the scan, and they saw the kidney stone lodged in the kidney, in the nephrons. And so they gave me a medicine, which I don't know what it does, but apparently it made it move into the ureter. Ureter? Yeah, going into before it hit the bladder. And they gave me pain medicine. And anyway, end of story. I passed it. It came out in the toilet, and I have it. I took
No
it back,
way.
and I did. I had it. I got it analyzed. I keep it. It's in a. I should have brought it. It's in a little pill jar, and
Wow.
I mean it's big enough that I can hold it, and it's all jagged edge, very rough, jaggedy edge. And I had it analyzed, and it is a calcium oxalate stone. So of course I start Googling calcium oxalate, oxalate, oxalate. I didn't know anything about oxalates. Anytime people tell you eat spinach, eat chia seeds, have a lot of dark chocolate because it has all this nutrition, they never tell you about the anti-nutrient called oxalic acid. I was combining all the high oxalic acid plants. I was
Oh
making
my goodness.
smoothies. I mean, I could go on and on about all the things I was doing, not knowing. So after the experience, which is why many people change and how many people change as they go through some traumatic experience like I did, I actually changed my YouTube name to the Seed Oil, Oxalate, and Carb Addiction Teacher. That was one of my original, instead before I did Carnivore Teacher, because I did a lot of videos on oxalates. And do you know the videos that have the most hits on my YouTube channel, if you look at them, are all the oxalate videos.
Oxley. Wow.
They're in the thousands, 9,000, 5,000 people have watched these videos.
Wow.
So people want to know. So anyway, finding that out, I cut out pretty much all the high oxalate foods. And then that's when I went ketovore. And ketovore is basically, it's a term that Nisha, Ken's wife, Nisha Berry, invented. Everybody thinks it's just been out there all these years. And she's a ketovore. And she defines it as less than 10 total grams of carbohydrates a day, where you're maybe having some coffee, where you're maybe having maybe a little bit of maybe mustard on the plate, maybe a little bit of vegetable, but not keto. So I did that for about 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. I was ketovore, very happy with it. And then the benefits, let me go through all these benefits for you, because it's not just weight loss. The benefits are so amazing that I decided to go carnivore and up my game and improve things even more, because I started watching Chafee and Dr. Berry's a carnivore. I'm like, well, let me continue this and take it a little further. Loved my coffee. All right, everybody, people love their coffee. They talk about their coffee. I had a whole ritual with a French press and a stainless steel, and I grind my own beans, and I like them a certain way. And I had a ritual, and I decided to try going caffeine free. And I'll talk about that later too. But I got off of coffee. I don't miss it either. And I improved my sleep and everything. So 35 pounds weight loss. I had lower back pain. I'm wondering if now it was kidney issues. I don't know. But I always had, lower back pain since I was in my 20s that would come and go. It would come and it would go. And when it was really bad, I had to roll myself around on a wheeled chair at school. I even had crutches. It was so bad. I put a TENS unit that I would carry clipped to my waist just so I could get through the teaching day. And sometimes it didn't hurt at all. And other days it was like waves, which makes me think maybe it was oxalates. We don't know. So anyway, lower back pain, eliminated, gone. Like I'm a 10-year-old. I don't have any more back pain. I had atrial fibrillation. I was diagnosed with about 8 or 9 years ago, and I was on 2 medicines. I was on flecainide and a beta blocker. And they have a paragraph of side effects, and they also raise your blood sugar. So I was reading that, and I said, that's it. I'm eating this way now. I'm going to take myself off of these meds slowly with the consultation of my cardiologist. And he didn't want me to. I disagreed with him, and I did it anyway. I did it very gradually. And I am not in atrial fibrillation anymore, like 99% of the time. I will pop into it. for 10 minutes and it doesn't go very high. Every once in a while, like every 6 months. So AFib gone. Dr. Sean Baker, I brought this up with him, and he mentioned that maybe eating carnivore, I'm repairing whatever damage I may have had in some of the chambers in my heart. I mean, who knows? My fatty liver is gone. I know I had a fatty liver because I had a belly. I gained muscle because I work out every day, and I'm 58, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, my pecs are bigger. This is pretty freaky,
great, dude.
This is pretty freaky. All right. Here's the downside. Horrible downside. I had to spend a fortune on new clothes. All right. I had to go out.
So
I went from a 38 waist down to a 33 waist. And the shirts, I went from large and extra large to mediums. I'm wearing mediums now. Right. Go figure. Now, talk about being vain. I'm in the dressing room and I'm putting on smalls. Can I get into a small? Right. But I did that. All right. I had acne. Right. I always had these little acne, even at my age. The acne cleared up. I used to have some skin tags that always happen under my armpits. Every once in a while, disappeared. Skin tags disappeared, which I found out is a symptom of insulin resistance. I wear reading glasses to read up close because of my age, but I swear it's better. Like, I don't need them as much. I'm in the store without the reading glasses and I pick up something and I'm like, I can see this. If I pull it far enough away, I can actually see it better. I think my hearing improved. I'm very musically inclined. I have near perfect pitch. I play the piano, I play the cello, I play the guitar. I love to sing. Music has always been my passion. I never did anything with it money-wise or career-wise, but it's one of my great joys in life is music. And I really believe that now that I'm performing for enjoyment, that's improved. I think my hearing, my tone, my pitch, my range got better. I don't know, the vocal cords, the ears. Now, ever since I was in first grade, we're talking 5 and 6 years old, I ripped and bit and tore at my nails and cuticles all my life. I ripped and I would hide them from people. And then later on, I would take the nail clipper and fix it. And then I couldn't stop. It was almost like popping those plastic bubbles, pop, 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 you can't stop. It just ceased. I noticed maybe about 6 months after I started, I don't have an urge to do that anymore. It just stopped. And I of course, Googled it. I'm like, this is a type of obsessive compulsive disorder that I had all my life. It just vanished. The ketones, I believe, repaired that in my brain or something. I mean, I don't know. Gum and teeth health. I had a lot of dental work done. I have an implant. I have lots of crowns. I've had root canals. I've had my wisdom teeth removed. I have braces. I hate the dentist. And I go once a year for a supposed cleaning and they almost can't find the plaque. It's just amazing because, of course, the sugar creates the plaque and the tartar in the cavities. Right. And I've had receding gums and my gums are not receding anymore. So just like it's not just weight loss. It is all these wonderful things. I know I don't have any hair, but I used to get dandruff in my eyebrows and, flaky skin disappeared. My skin's like moist. I used to get sinus infections, 2 or 3 a year, painful, colds. I didn't get the flu much because I always got the flu shot because I'm a teacher and I didn't want to get it from the kids. And I never got the flu, but I would get a lot of colds and sinus infections. I haven't had one in 5 years, Casey. 5 years. Freak me out, right? Like I just, you notice it. You're like, I haven't been sick. This is just amazing. Maybe part of it has to do with, the COVID time and we weren't near everybody. I don't know. My mental focus improved, comprehension. I discussed that I had to renew my teaching certificate one time before I retired. And, you have to take all these classes and write all these papers and read all these things you don't want to read. And this particular time around, because I was ketovore at the time, my concentration was on. I got it done faster and I retained the knowledge. My focus is like laser focus. I may have had a little ADD for all I knew, and I don't have it anymore. I don't know. Depression, I had the emotional roller coaster, I believe, because of the carbs and sugar. My mental state is just steady or up all the time. My mom and dad recently passed away. I was sad because of the deaths and the mourning process, but not like I probably would have been. I mean, I just observed myself going through this, like, I'm doing this. I can't believe this. This is sad and everything, but I'm handling all this stress better because my body's functioning more efficiently. And the last one I have on my list here is anger. You can tell by my passion and energy and my excitement that it can also go in the anger route when I get mad, because I'm Italian, right? We just express ourselves. We get happy, we're happy. We're angry, we're throwing things. I don't. The anger isn't so intense. I don't fixate on things as much anymore. Maybe that's part of the OCD. Something doesn't bother me anymore. Maybe it's part of my age. I'm a little wiser. I don't let things get to me anymore. I see them in their context better, instead of getting, engulfed in the problem and just losing my emotions over it. I just see it for what it is. And I'm like, I can only control how I react to the people and events around me. And like, whoa, amazing. So those are all the reasons that I finally decided to up it one more step from ketovore to carnivore. And all I did was stop the avocado and the coffee, because I pretty much stopped a lot of the vegetables and of course all the oxalates. So now I am 100% carnivore, 100%. It's okay if I dip into something like a little horseradish sauce with my prime rib, but not the creamy stuff. And that's where I am. So I've been strict carnivore for about a year now, maybe a little more than a year. And my bowels, my sleep, everything is just elevated even more from ketovore, just a little bit more. So that's why I changed my name to Carnivore Teacher and talk about that we don't need the plants. People can choose to. I get a lot of pushback from people who are also doing this way of eating because they want the plants. And, I listen to Dr. Chafee, plants are trying to kill you. I listen to everybody's perspective and I come up with my own common denominator. For me, my body functions the most optimally on a carnivore way of eating. Beef, lamb, pork, poultry, fish, and eggs. I cook in butter, beef tallow and lard, and bacon fat, and chicken fat. It's so delicious. I salt to taste. I love my Redmond real salt. Love that stuff. It's better than any other salt. I just love it. And I don't push them. I just love it. And but somebody else may do well with a few vegetables. Maybe that's where they are in their journey. So I don't argue with people anymore, and they want to look at me and say, you have to have some vegetables. I'm going to say, you can have some vegetables. I personally, and I have to always stipulate, for me, it works this way. For somebody else, some people want to have them. Maybe, because it's 5 years and I've gone through what I've gone through, my personal experiences, I don't want them or need them. And when you've got a kidney stone because of something, it's kind of like when you had that horrible vomiting occurrence in college when you overdrank. You don't want to drink for a couple of weeks. I don't want any more oxalates, so I'm really, really careful. And I miss the chocolate. I don't miss spinach, but I miss the chocolate. But I don't crave it. That's the cool thing.
Yeah. That is absolutely remarkable. I want you to maybe speculate a little bit on the mental thing, because this is certainly has been my experience, and probably the strongest reason that I stay carnivore is to feel after a few weeks that the anxiety that I didn't think I had just completely drop out, and it was gone. It was just replaced by like everything is just kind of okay. It's not like you're blissful all the time, but you're just okay. Everything is good. It's fine. When a stressful thing occurs, you sit down, you have a think about it, and you can figure it out. And I mentioned this on the show before. I've tried mindfulness practices 2 different times in my life, one when I was carnivore and one 10 years ago when I was not. I would submit that, yeah, maybe I'm 10 years older and, like you said, a little bit more experience. I can handle things a little bit better, but I would strongly say that my diet has helped my mindfulness practice a lot. And I also noticed that there's a lot of people in our world in the carnivore space that get into things like stoicism, for example, and things like you mentioned, like you control the things you can and you leave the things you can't. I'm guessing I know where you're going to take this question, but would you strongly submit that there's a reason why people go carnivore and then all of a sudden find stoicism or find mindfulness practice and find that really, really works, where maybe previously in their life that hadn't worked nearly as well?
Absolutely. I believe that because I learned very much about mindfulness. We taught it right through COVID at school when we had to go back into school. And the year after COVID, when the lockdown ended and all the kids came back into school, it was part of the curriculum. So I had a lot of trainings on how to teach children to do mindfulness. And we would start every period doing a few minutes of mindfulness. And I believe that when you go carnivore, when you clean up your way of eating and your body is running efficiently, and then you do mindfulness, it's more efficient, more you feel it more. And I also have learned that when we do mindfulness, we're breathing. It's like a meditation. We're visualizing, we're breathing, we're slowing our heart rate down, we're evening out our exhales and our inhales. A lot of people don't know the science behind that. When people hyperventilate, it's not even, and that changes the heart rate and that changes the brain waves, and you go into a fight or flight mode. That's a different part of the brain. When we breathe in and exhale evenly, and we visualize something that we love or happy or whatever nature, our heart rate drops. We are using the executive state of our brain, and we can make rational decisions instead of the emotional state or the fight or flight state, which we all go into because we're humans. And we taught the children when they were hyper and stressed out, and us, the teachers, when we were stressed out, how to get back into that executive state, and we can make rational decisions. And I can do it easier because my body's running on healthy fatty acids, my ketones, than having that roller coaster of sugar going up and down, because that's an emotional response. You have all the sugar, your glucose is way up over 100, and then the insulin kicks in, and then you're going down. You get hungry, you get emotional, and try to do mindfulness then, and it's a little harder. It's going up a down escalator when you do it that way. I do it every morning on my bicycle ride. I mean, I didn't realize it's like I've been doing it every day without calling it what it is. It became part of my life. I come back, you can't see, but over here I have let's see if I can tilt it. I don't know if you can see it.
There we go.
My Bowflex Revolution. I have my teeter hang up. I've got all my little weight machine and everything. And I put on my YouTube guys and girls. And I think I'm kind of doing mindfulness too, because I'm learning, I'm lifting, I'm not thinking about the pain I'm feeling as I get to failure, because I'm learning. And I walk out of this room with another piece of knowledge I didn't know, and I feel great. And I do this all in the morning. There are times when I will purposefully do mindfulness that's not in the morning. Something got me going, something angered me or really hit my emotions. And I go into another room and shut the door, and I just do deep breathing. I count, 5 inhales and 6 exhales. And I only need to do that for a minute or two. And man, I'll tell you, I take my Apple Watch, I hit the little heart monitor, and my heart rate has dropped. And I can tell what I was pissed off about or hurt doesn't seem so important anymore.
Wow.
Because I'm thinking in my executive state and not my emotional state. I love it.
That's amazing. I would assume that most of the listeners of this show have at least heard of carnivore or on carnivore, want to try it, curious about it. They've heard other guests on the show talking about it. But I really, really, really hope there's somebody out there who has not heard of any of this and is listening to all of these things that you're listing out, because it sounds insane. You said you weren't selling anything. What kind of snake oil are you selling to say that all of those things got better. But I have heard that same story so many times in this community over the years that I expect it. I expect all of those things to happen. Yes, when you leave, a standard American diet, go to keto, you're going to lose weight. Your brain's probably going to work a little bit better. I pretty much know that's going to happen. I think your hunger is going to drop out. Snacking might just kind of go away. Generally speaking, you're gonna improve. It'll feel better. It's that next step and the final step when people are going more towards either ketovore or carnivore, like you said, where it's everything. Wow, I don't get athlete's foot anymore. I can stay in the sun and I don't get burned. I don't smell as bad as I used to in my armpits. All the weirdest
You're right.
things. And it like everybody says the same thing, and then they'll say all of those things and go, oh yeah, and I lost 35 pounds. That's the afterthought.
It's the afterthought. Yeah, amazing.
That's amazing.
It is. It is. I mentioned earlier about the seed oils that I learned about later. And I tell people this, I think I made a video about this. I've made over 400 videos, so I'm kind of forgetting what I made. I would rather have some sugar than some seed oil if I had to choose.
Great.
Because the body recognizes glucose. It knows what, and the liver, takes care of the fructose part. My body doesn't recognize canola, corn, cottonseed, grapeseed, rice bran, safflower, soybean, sunflower, peanut, margarine, Crisco, plant butter. My body doesn't know what that is, so it starts inappropriate inflammation to deal with the toxin. And inflammation is the precursor to a lot of issues, ailments, and diseases. So I learned that as part of this. So this has been a whole learning process. It's not just cut the carbs and sugar and exercise. It's not just go carnivore. There's a lot of facets to this. There's the seed oil facet that when you go carnivore, by definition, you're cutting out the seed oil, but you still need to know about it because maybe you're using a cooking spray to spray the grill, Pam. So I learned about that and the oxalates part, which it seems to be, it's not known. I've got to get this message out a lot more. No, I went to here's another oxalate issue. This eye, I had something wrong with the underneath part of the eyelid there. And I thought I got something in there. I flushed it out. I washed it. Weeks went by and it got worse. And I went to the eye doctor and they, of course, gave me an antibiotic or a steroid drop and everything. And it finally went away. But I asked the eye doctor, could this be an oxalate dumping symptom? And she knew nothing, had never heard of it. But Monique Attinger says that is a common one, that they can come out of your eyes. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, right? Oh, but even the eye doctor never heard of it.
They don't know.
That's scary. That's so scary. Now, I'm really blessed that I have a general doctor, my general practitioner doctor. He supports me. He sees my blood work. He's like, whoa, whatever you're doing. We actually compare numbers. He goes, wow, you're better in this number than I am. He's a great guy. He's about my age. And really, he's fit. He's lean. I think he's kind of keto. But he supports me, and I hear that's extremely rare. A lot of doctors will tell you, here's a statin, you have to do this, you have to do that. He actually told me he has to ask me to go on a statin because he has to write it in the chart, because if he doesn't, he'll get in trouble. And he says, I have to ask you, or I'm going to write that you said no, and I'll ask you again next year. That's his way. That's his way of getting around it.
Great doctor.
That's another category we could talk about is statins, and we could talk about all our blood levels. I know we don't have enough time here, but my blood work is absolutely pristine, perfect. My LDL is high because I'm a lean mass hyperresponder. Everything else is absolutely perfect, and I got my CAC score back, which is a coronary artery calcium score. It shows the amount of calcium that builds up in the arteries, and mine came back at 50. Did I do it at 58? Yeah, I was 58 years old. It was just this last July. 0. I'm at 0, which I was like, it was like a birthday present to me because I didn't know what that number was. So I feel validated that this carnivore way of eating is the way to go.
Wow.
It really is.
That's amazing. Wow. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, if you were following him at the time, but Dr. Baker's original podcast that he was hosting, he co-hosted with Zach Bitter called the Human Outliers Project. Human Outliers, something like that. Anyway, Dr. Baker stopped doing that one, and Zach Bitter continued doing it. And Zach, I'm not sure what his own personal opinion is. I know he's used a lot of carnivore in the past. He does endurance sports and all that kind of thing. He just hosted somebody on his show who is not only saying that seed oils are probably just fine, but was also listing some of the health benefits that come with seed oils. I listened to it out of curiosity because I have no idea how anybody could claim any of that stuff. It was pretty weak science and really poorly done. I was stunned that anybody could make a claim that seed oils are great for you. We've linked this video a million times on our show. I'll link it again in this one, the How It's Made episode of canola oil, to watch the process of how canola oil is made, which I know you're very familiar with. It's so gross. It's so gross.
It's gross. And I think they're probably touting, it lowers your cholesterol because, we're lower your cholesterol. As you see it on TV, Cheerios, it lowers your cholesterol. Heart healthy, cholesterol is not a bad thing. Cholesterol, it's creating the bile, it's creating our hormone system, our testosterone, our estrogen, it's creating the membrane of every single cell in our body. We want cholesterol. We don't want something that will glycate and damage our cells, that will cause the cholesterol to do its job and go fix it and create a plaque. And that's sugar. And people don't hear that story, that it's the sugar causing the glycation that causes the cascade of events that cholesterol is a part of, and calcium to build a plaque. But all they say is take a statin and use vegetable oils, because the vegetable oils do lower your cholesterol. They do.
Yeah, it's tough out there, and we live in a time now where new research is coming out about lean mass hyperresponders, and this is something very near and dear to my heart, as my wife now has a measured LDL of over 200. I haven't done my measurements in years, and so I'm assuming I probably have very high cholesterol as well. I know lots of people in this community that have it. We're doing new research. We're finding out more about these people. Dave Feldman's doing incredible work, and we're going to have some one-year report coming out very, very soon, which is going to be amazing. I have to ask you, 58 years old, you're a male, prime candidate for a heart attack with again, the cholesterol very, very high. Are you sure? Are you very comfortable saying that you're okay to have your level of cholesterol? You're not worried, you're not nervous, you're okay with that being exactly the way it is without taking something to lower it?
All right. 20 years ago, my cholesterol was 150, LDL was 150, and I was on a statin. Lovastatin, simvastatin, and I'm at LA Fitness working out, and I'm in my 30s, and I felt like an old man. I was getting aches, I was getting pains, I was getting cramps. My LDL came down. It came way down under 100. It did, and I was like, oh, great! Keep taking this. And then I did some research, and I realized this is causing me body aches and body cramps. It's actually robbing the necessary cholesterol that feeds my muscles and joints and bones and cells, and it's taking it away just to lower the number, because we are constantly told you have to have a low number, and it's been bashed into our brains for so many decades. Now I have knowledge, and knowledge is power, as I've said. My LDL cholesterol is 298. I was 300 last year. I'm a little under 300 LDL. It's the big fluffy LDL, okay? Because I had the fractionated, they broke it down, and my the big fluffy LDL, I don't want a statin to take my big fluffy LDL away. My triglycerides are in the 40s. My HDL is close to 80, 85, which is considered high. My HbA1c is 5.2. It's creeping up a little bit. It was 4.8. I think my hemoglobin is living longer because I'm healthier. I do have a blood ketone meter that I used to use religiously. I don't do that much anymore, but every once in a while I'll test it. And my fasted glucose is 70, 75. I'm doing really so and my CAC is a 0. So yes, Casey, I am extremely confident that I am not going to have a heart attack at 58 because there's no calcium in my arteries. My triglycerides are low. My good cholesterol is high, and my blood sugar, my HbA1c is in range, and I feel great. And people think that the cholesterol is the food that you eat. There's such a small portion that you're getting from the meat. Your body is making the cholesterol. So if I'm eating carnivore, my body is making more cholesterol for a reason. If my body knows what it's doing. It wants more cholesterol. It's going to make more cholesterol. I'm going to welcome that, as long as I'm not glycating my arteries with sugar. A lot of people leave that part out. So the people who are eating the standard American diet, yes, high cholesterol is going to kill you, but it's not the firemen that started the fire. It's the cholesterol is going to repair the damage that you did when you ate all the sugar. So this way, I'm confident. I really am, and I'll argue anybody about it, and I'll show them studies. And yes, I'm following Dave Feldman, and I watched a lot of his lives and his recordings, and I'm really excited about this too. I've been waiting for it. I actually applied to be one of his subjects, and I applied too late. He said, I don't need anybody else. They were going to fly me to California and give me, but I applied too late because I said, I know I'm up there. I'm like 300 and something.
You would have exactly fit that demographic. I think the average age in those 100 people that he selected were like 55, 60% were male. Right. And they had been doing the diet for about that long. So yeah, you would have been perfect had the timing been right. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how some of this research is received. You mentioned Dr. Peter Attia. I love Dr. Peter Attia. And so far, it's that one little thing. It's that one little thing. So I hope people will come around on that. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm currently reading his book. He's got this gigantic book, Outlive, and I'm in the middle of it. And I love him. I mean, I love his articulation. He's a gifted orator. He's so brilliant, and he's not cocky. And I love to learn from people that I feel I can trust. And like I said earlier, I don't agree with everybody. And he believes in statins. He believes in that ApoB, you've got to take a medicine to take care of that, because that's the part that is the bad part in the LDL. And but then you talk to Dr. Berry about the same topic, and he says that that's wrong, and you don't. So who do I believe? I take the lowest common denominator, whatever. I listen to everybody, and I make up my own mind. I don't want all the side effects of a statin, and I don't want to lower my cholesterol because I believe it's good for me. I really do.
You have to have done a lot of research to come to that conclusion. Just like eating a carnivore diet, you are swimming upstream. If you're choosing not to eat broccoli and spinach and all these other things that people say are healthy, you are very much swimming upstream and on the face of everything we've heard for the last 70 years about cholesterol and heart attacks and all that stuff. So I really appreciate that you've done the work and the research to be able to come to that conclusion and be comfortable with that. I think that's going to help make a lot of people feel much better about this way of eating. And speaking of, like we said, this episode is being released right in the middle of World Carnivore Month. What tips would you give for somebody who is either trying it? And I'm also going to add a little bit of nuance to that question to also say maybe somebody is doing, ketovore, and they're including what I would mostly consider pretty benign things like coffee or like avocado. You had to take another step and get away from even those things to feel even better. So not only what tips would you give to somebody who wants to try the diet, what would you tell somebody who's maybe just almost there, but might need to take that next step to be even more clean with their diets?
I'm going to go back a little further because I should have mentioned this earlier. And I remember I typed something out to somebody on Twitter. A lot of people ask me questions on there, and I had to backstep. People who just want to start carnivore right off the standard American diet, just cut all the fruits and vegetables and sugars and carbs and seed oils and oxalates and everything out and just go carnivore. That's not good advice, because the body is going to go into shock. Just like when you stop a drug, stop smoking, stop drinking, you're going to have a withdrawal. All the bacteria are looking for the sugar-loving bacteria, all the fiber that you're not ingesting anymore. So my new advice is slowly start cutting out some of them. You can cut out the carbs and sugar and seed oil right away, but still have your vegetables. Slowly take out different things, because vegetables have starch. Starch is a long chain of glucose molecule. You're still getting your glucose. Slowly, very slowly, but also because of an oxalate dumping pattern. The body has stored up, as you said, lots of oxalates from many years of eating. And if you all of a sudden stop the oxalates, the body says, okay, it's time to start getting rid of them through cycles. Mine's every 3 months, by the way. I know. Every 3 months, I dump. And one was a kidney stone, one was an eye thing. And then every 3 months, I'll get like a little achy. And I know that's what it is. I don't have a cold. I'm going through oxalate dumping. I have to get this crap out of my system. And I put so much in there. So I tell people, go slowly for that reason as well, because you don't realize you have these things in your body, these micro crystalline, sharp, jagged, edgy things in your body that are ready to release. They get absorbed into these transport uptake, and they come out in your joints, in your muscles, in your skin. Some women, it comes out of their breasts. And it's painful and it's uncomfortable. So if you go slowly and monitor yourself, if you have a terrible dumping symptom where you almost have to go to the hospital, the advice is to actually eat a little bit of oxalate, add a little dark tea, have a little tiny bit of dark chocolate, and you'll notice your symptoms lessen, and they'll continue to dump. You get them out, and then they go away, and then you're good for another 3 months, and then maybe in 3 months you've got to add a little more oxalate again because it's so painful. I say grin and bear it, but if it's real bad, you have. And some people, it takes up to 10 years to get these oxalates out of our body. Right? I know I still have them in my body. I'm hoping, I don't know what my level is. I hope I'm getting a lot of it out. So that's my first piece of advice, is don't jump right in from the standard American diet and fast food and processed food to go right to carnivore. Go keto, have lots of vegetables, maybe have some fruits like you did before, yogurt, and then slowly do it and adjust. And I did it through trial and error. And I was ketovore for a good 3 years. And then I decided, all right, it's time. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to take out avocado. And I originally had a half to a full Haas avocado every day for the potassium, because I would go for a walk every night and I would get these shoulder cramps. And I found out if I ate a little more potassium, the cramps went away. I don't know. So that's what I did. I don't get them anymore. I don't know why, but I stopped the avocado and I'm fine. And then I thought, okay, how do I do this coffee thing? Are you a coffee drinker, Casey?
I am. It's funny you say that. I tried cutting it out for a week or two here and there. I don't notice a huge difference one way or another.
Oh,
Was it
lucky
difficult for you
you.
to quit?
Yeah. Well, I want to hopefully not take too much time to do this, but I learned, knowledge is power, about adenosine mimicking caffeine. All right. So we have these adenosine receptors in our brain, and adenosine is in our brain. And when we drink coffee, the caffeine goes into the adenosine receptors instead of the adenosine, because it's very similar molecular structure. Then you've got all this adenosine floating around, and that's why we have all this energy. All right. We think it's a stimulant, but it's really, you have all this adenosine, right? And then when all the caffeine gets gobbled up, the adenosine starts to go in, and then you get drowsy and you need another cup of coffee. So you've got, it's almost like a sugar high and a low. Some people get it. I used to have a cup, 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and I had to have one at noon or 1 o'clock, or else I'd fall asleep. So I learned about the adenosine thing, just knowing what it's doing. And then I also learned about the damn headaches, okay? Because we have constriction. When you take caffeine, your veins and your arteries they constrict, they get tighter, which raises your blood pressure. But you don't have any problems with that until you stop the caffeine, and your veins and arteries, especially the ones in your head, they start to dilate again. And in the process of dilating, they're, of course, pressing on your brain. And there's your terrible caffeine headache. And I would get they felt like migraines, horrible headache if I didn't get my cup of coffee. So I did 2 videos on this, if you want to go back and look at them, on how I did it. And I ground my own coffee beans. I got decaffeinated, caffeinated, and over 1 whole month, I slowly switched them out until I was full decaffeinated. And then after I was full decaffeinated, which still has 5 to 7, maybe 5 to 15 milligrams of caffeine. A regular cup of coffee's got like 140 to 200 milligrams of caffeine. It's a big difference. So once I got down to decaf, then I lowered it to just 1 cup of decaf. Then I had hot water with melted butter, just so I had something hot and creamy to drink, because that's another thing. Your brain likes the ritual, the making, the holding, the sipping. You stop. So you have to remove and you have to replace when you get rid of something. You can't just stop it right away. Most people fail. And I stopped coffee over 1 whole month of very slowly reducing and eliminating, removing and replacing. And now I haven't had coffee for almost a year. think it's about a year. I forget when I stopped last year. And we were just recently on a cruise. I was in another situation where there's coffee everywhere, and it's like, oh man, I missed getting my coffee because I didn't miss it in my house because I got over that. But now I'm in the situation in the past when I had coffee, and now I'm in that situation again, and now I want the coffee. So it wasn't a caffeine addiction; it was a mental, the behavior associated with condition. So I don't know if we have time. We could talk about addiction because that's a huge part of my teaching for people, because it's not just, okay, don't eat this, eat that, get off of this, start this. It's like, how do you go about doing that? And a lot of people don't realize that they have an addiction to carbs and sugar.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how about this? I'm going to put you on the spot, and I have you back on this show so we can do a full episode on food addiction, because we barely scratched the surface on that. And that's so important. All of that was such great information. I hope that somebody who's just getting going on this path can understand that it's going to feel difficult, but you don't have to do it overnight. You can be gradual with it. Eventually, it won't be that difficult to cut out things like coffee and avocados and other things that are, here or there. And it's going to pay you back and more energy and all these kinds of things. So I hope somebody's listening to this, not thinking like, this is so strict, I can never do this. You can do this. It will be easy. It'll get easier over time. It's way cheap. It's not very expensive. And you'll just feel so much better. Dude, you are the teacher I wish I had had. You are so amazing at educating. And I love your excitement around this topic. And to just hear you on your bike rides, like getting nuggets of information. I got to show up in Boca one of these days and just watch that.
All right.
I don't think I can keep up with you on a bike, but I'll definitely try to see that. John, again, amazing conversation. I would love to have you back another time so we can get into the sticks a little bit with the sugar addiction stuff. That would be fantastic. For today, where can people go to find you and connect with you and your work?
Okay, just Carnivore Teacher. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm even on Pinterest and Tumblr. I just copy everything. It's the same one that whatever video I make, I just post it to all of those. And I have different followers on each one, believe it or not. And so just Carnivore Teacher or my name, John LaSpina, it pops up. Or you can type in my name in a particular topic, and you'll see a video like about my coffee, how to make bone broth, how I made one of my meals. I'm cooking in the kitchen. So I try to do a variety of different videos. And I welcome anybody who wants to see them. And like I said earlier, I'm not selling anything, and my YouTube channel is not even monetized. Okay, I have all the criteria to be monetized, and I'm not monetized. I don't need it. I'm passionate about when I get comments from people saying, oh my gosh, you just taught me something, or thank you, I just learned something from you and I applied it. That means the world to me. It's like, that's why I became a teacher. I impart my knowledge, somebody gets something great about it, and they improve their life because I imparted that knowledge. So that's why I'm doing it.
That is so amazing, dude. I absolutely love that. And like I told you offline, your work is so good. I love your videos. They're educational and entertaining. You do a great job with it. And you're the kind of people that need to be promoted more. So, man, I really, really appreciate it. That was such a fun hour. I'm going to go do Kung Fu or karate in the garage or something. I'm so excited. But for now, John, thank you so very much for coming on our show today. We really, really appreciate you.
You are well. And thank you for having me on. It's an honor. It's an honor because I've watched your video, your interviews with some of the greats.
Oh, man.
I can see.
Well, you're a great as well, and it was an honor to host you. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.